Welcome to the Australian Institute of Business Career Under Construction webinar series, which was established to help our MBA community advance their career and employment opportunities through leveraging their MBA credentials, confidence, and networks. For those unfamiliar with AIB, we are Australia's market-leading, fully online MBA private higher education provider, boasting a student and alumni network of more than 20,000 from 95 countries, majority of which are from Australia and Canada. Perhaps more importantly, however, is our infinite game in which AIB's vision is to transform the lives of everyday working professionals through career-enhancing credentials. My name is Dr. Alicia Stanway, Senior Academic and Industry Engagement Manager here at AIB. I'm equal mix, nerves and excitement to be sitting virtually alongside three of our remarkable alumni who are going to share their story, reflective insights, and of course being the practical business school strategies to support our students and alumni in achieving their career goals. Our topic, how to prepare for a career pivot. Whether you're considering a major shift or refining your career path, a career change can lead to a more purpose-driven and value-aligned career. Now, to help with that alignment, let's bring in our executive panel, rightfully often referred to as the change maker. Cain, you must know I'm coming for you. Cain Cooke, co-founder and chief executive of Leki, who are pioneering the future of electric mobility with motorcycles, is also managing director of ModMade, which are portable homes. And if you're in real estate in South Australia thinking this man looks familiar, he probably is, as chair of the Real Estate Institute of South Australia. Graduated 2017 and came full circle this year, having delivered an inspirational graduation keynote this year. Welcome, Cain.
Thank you. So pleased to be here.
Sallina Jeffrey, founder and CEO of the I'm going to do that again. Sallina Jeffrey, founder and CEO of the Mentoring Movement. Sallina specializes in one-on-one human-centered leadership programs and advises organizations, global organizations, on HR mentoring software that can enhance the employee experience, which we've all experienced, can lead to better productivity, engagement, and retention. Graduated 2022. Hello, Sallina.
Hello, Alicia. I'm really super excited to be here and a little bit nervous, but super excited.
The best place to be, Sallina. Exactly. And always thriving in a high-performance culture, Zach McCool, manager of HR operations at Pattison Food Group, Canada's largest provider of food and health products, also graduated in 2020. Welcome to our panel. And I invite our guests today to connect via LinkedIn if you feel inspired to do so. Welcome, team. The webinar journey today is hearing from our panel about what drove their significant career change and drawing out the practical strategies based on their professional experiences. Now, those are really the golden nuggets that we want you as our audience to take away. We'll also cover the power of support networks, mindset, which is probably going to be a bit more weaved throughout what we talk about, and what those first ballpark 3 months look like when you're potentially building credibility within a new industry or career function. Cain, I'm going to kick off with you.
Yes.
Now, in life or in our careers, in our lifetime, we can have multiple job changes, but career changes are less likely. Now, you are a master of intentional change, but tell us about what led to your biggest shift.
Yeah, look, I think the word pivot is used, but probably pirouette's probably better for me. I think I've spun around, faced multiple directions in my career, and then took some time to work out what the connective lineage was between the different things that I was doing. But I'd spent nearly 2 decades in really sort of general manager roles, primarily in franchising. I've become the franchising guy, and I was actually pretty good at it, and I really enjoyed it. But there was something missing for me. I'm naturally extraordinarily curious by nature. I like to do new things. I like to learn new things. I like to be challenged so hard that my brain feels like it's going to explode. That's just part of my personality type. And I also like to do good, and be good, and take care of people. So when I did my MBA some years ago now, the time has disappeared, but really my pivot was into being a founder and starting my own company and going, you know what, I'm probably ready to be the CEO of something amazing, but why don't I let that thing be my own thing, rather than going and being a CEO for somebody else? And that was a pretty extraordinary step, and terrifying and thrilling. And when you've got no budget and no team and just an idea, the bravery required was actually part of the MBA journey for me, which was, okay, make sure that you're rounded out and that you're prepared. Um, Here's the big clincher: you're never prepared. You can prepare as much as you like, but I think it is about getting your personal self to that space where you are ready to take a leap. And by virtue of that, we've got two companies, both doing really interesting stuff, and I get to be the creator of my own destiny, the driver of my own culture, the decision maker as to impact and changing the world that we live in. So that's, I guess, the biggest pivot. And housing and electric motorbikes are completely different, but weirdly the same in some strange way. So yeah,
That's
I don't know whether that
unbelievable.
answers the question, but it's kind of, yeah, bit of a pivot there.
You nailed the snapshot. I'm going to come back and circle back to the strategies that you actually did to switch from the franchise guy to C-suite. So we're going to circle back to you, Cain. All right, Sallina, I know you're resonating with this, but you also sit in that ever-evolving space. Tell us your career pivot
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was definitely resonating with what Cain was saying. And look, if I look back at my career from when I started out in radio sales, and I really had no idea what I wanted to do, what I was good at. And I kind of fell into this role. Somebody kind of come up to me and offered me the role. And from there, I realized and came across this discovery within myself that I had the ability to be able to connect what people needed with a product or a service and be able to tell a story and unite those two pieces together to be able to not only build success for other people but also success for myself. And from there I went into not-for-profit. So I worked for the Cancer Council New South Wales and rolled out their 8 national events. And I realized, like Cain has said, that I found this innate within myself um, drive to help other people, and it was so fulfilling. It was the most, probably one of the hardest roles I've ever played, because it was such hard work, because you wear so many hats. But it was so fulfilling to like learn and really help other people that were suffering from cancer. From there, I had a few like curveballs that were thrown at me with life, and I went into and did a complete another transition and went actually into finance and worked for Westpac. It worked for my family. I had a young family at the time, and throughout that role, it was very difficult. Like, it was very challenging. And I really brought those skills that I learned from my first role around being able to understand a product, learning and asking those questions, and about what need that met, and being able to join those dots. When I went out of finance after about 5 or 6 years, I went back into radio because I was seeking some creativity. And I also discovered, now I sound old now, discovered the whole digital side of things. So not only was it like radio ads for Kiss FM and Gold and Australian Radio Network, but I was also working across their digital assets. And so I really gained this great passion for an understanding of how to innovate quicker with smaller budgets and being able to reach people around the human behavior side of things. And then from there, I moved into software and in tech. And now I've found myself where I am now, where I look back at my career and I've had great experiences, not so great experiences, but then also some really life-changing and intrapersonal experiences. And now I'm on my life's journey of being able to help organizations be able to execute mentoring programs, as well as working with leaders around that human-centered leadership piece of like being human in the workplace.
Sallina,
That's
I'm going to
me.
circle back a little bit later. This heart-centered, human-centered space is your wheelhouse. That's how I personally see you, and I've known you for a number of years now. So I'm going to come back a little bit. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit more about mindset in that space. All right, Zach. Yeah. Mr. McCool, slightly different perspective. You've taken transferable high performance capabilities, not just into another industry, but into another functional role. I'm wildly inspired about your story, so share your story with us.
Wow, way to build it up, Alicia. Thank you so much. Well, let me start by apologizing that I may not have the wonderful accents that the rest of the group does, but I'll do my best to keep everybody engaged either way.
Right, you have the last name to make up for it.
Yeah, I'll use that forever. Yeah, I grew up Western Canada, really heavy into sports, team sports specifically, absolute passion for me. I was the kid who got every other kid together in the community to play sports every weekend before cell phones. I found a way to get everybody together all the time to play whatever sport we felt like. And I sort of used that throughout my life and started coaching sports at a young age as well. And went into playing college basketball and didn't actually even really know where I wanted to go with that once I got to college. But I took criminology actually as my initial degree program and thought about being a lawyer. When my realizations of pro athlete, stardom never happened. I ended up in the sporting goods retail industry shortly after my my college basketball life ended, and I went into sporting goods retail. It was a really natural fit, and it was like I fell into it. I went in one day and got hired on the spot, started in sales, and moved my way up pretty quickly. And one of the big things for me was always, I'll talk about that more later too when we dive deeper into mindset and taking those next steps and career change. But I always found myself wanting more and wanting the next name tag that said, the different type of manager, and then the next manager, and then the next manager. Very competitive, but really thrived in a team environment. And that really drove me into management. And I got into running my own store at a very young age. I was only 23 years old with a team of about 60. So I just loved it. I loved the competitiveness. I loved building great teams. And my organization was great with utilizing me in a number of different spaces. And I got to travel around opening new stores, recruitment plans, and hiring new people and building these great teams, all over the place in retail. And I learned so much. And one of the big things that I realized in 17 years in sporting goods retail was that the real key for me was the people. And that was what drove me into the career pivot that I made into the HR world. And I really did understand, all my successes came from the people and the teams we built, and the business was only as successful as the people we had, and they were the key catalyst to everything. So I really wanted to be a bigger part of the influence on the people side in an organization, and that led me into the MBA because I wanted that, that extra step. That even from a professionalism standpoint, retail comes with anybody who does retail management knows that they can do hard things and wear a lot of hats, like Sallina touched on too. And I really believe that frontlines retail management and wearing a ton of different hats really prepared me for becoming an HR professional and delivering in that at a high level. But obviously from a metrics and analytical standpoint, it looks different, but there's so many transferable skills learned managing teams of people. And and it's led me to where I am now.
Okay, Zach, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to take a breath because I'm going to stick with you for a minute. I want the audience to know, how did you go from 15 years in retail management through to HR director? Now, I know it didn't happen overnight. It was a process. Take us through it.
Yeah, so did you say I only have 30 seconds? No, I get a breath. Okay.
30 seconds to breathe.
I'm not good with 30 seconds. One of the big things I realized was that, like I said, the people side was most important, and my organization did allow me to be involved with the leadership and development team for the company, building coaching plans and working with performance management and like I said, with the recruitment team and things like that, which really, really solidified this thought in my brain that I needed to do something else, and I wanted to influence the people at a higher level, and that drove sort of the idea that this MBA had an HR management specialization, and that worked out perfectly for me because I felt that would really give me that extra edge that I knew I already had these skills. And I was great with staying calm in difficult situations, which I knew was a huge thing in the HR world. And just utilized that to do some networking and connected with some people once I graduated from the program. I got ahead of the game before I graduated, and did some networking with some people from university that I had worked alongside many years before that were in positions with other organizations now, and kind of got my name out there, in the HR space, and got some interviews and ended up, getting some people to put some faith in me, that the same faith I had in myself, that I could lead an HR function for an organization.
How did those networks help you in your career transition?
Everything. There's so many different things out there now. Like LinkedIn's obviously the huge one. And I think one of the big things that's out there that's built within LinkedIn that a lot of people don't utilize is the groups within LinkedIn. And I think that's a big one. From an HR standpoint, there's a multitude of different options for you to connect with other HR professionals to really, build that network. And I built a great network within the MBA program as well, with people from all over the world. And I got to learn so much about different HR spaces throughout the world. And that was one of the coolest things of the whole program, and really helped me realize I had a passion for this, and this was the right career change for me to make.
Brilliant. Two things I want to pull out of there is the importance of networks. I'm going to circle back and actually unpack that a little bit further. But you also mentioned that you intentionally chose a specialization within your MBA. So I'm just reiterating that for the potential students listening in who are thinking about specialization versus generic. All right, Cain, some of the practical, how do you make a plan to reality? Because you completely changed your identity over a period of time as well. Take us through that.
I did. I think, a lot of that is work you have to do on yourself. So that's around mindset. Obviously, it's around technical skill. Technical skill is really important. But what I also know, and everyone's sort of touched on this today, is if you have a great network and you treat people really well, and you do that, over the course of your career journey, you'd be amazed who comes out of the woodwork to help you reshape yourself and reshape your ambition. So when I set about going through this process, it took years. So the gestation of this was, a long time ago, probably over a decade ago, that I was starting to go, there's something here. And I think that realization too, that I am so strong-headed, and I can be a very kind but large force of nature when I want to be. And that means that for me, fitting into a traditional kind of executive or a large existing company can be really challenging, because I always ask all the questions that nobody really wants anybody to ask, and challenge and push the buttons in a way that some people find a bit difficult. So I'm the agitator in a large corporate. So that was sitting with me, and this idea that there was something in me that needed to happen. So over the course of time, I started collecting my army, I suppose, of people behind me, that support network sort of touched on, but those specialists that I know when I need somebody, and I'm going to make Mr. McCool my new friend now. He's a HR specialist, but there's this kind of, you need a great lawyer, you need a great accountant, you need a great marketing specialist, digital marketing specialist, HR specialist. You need all these people that you can draw on as you start to move and build out. So it was a really considered thing over time to go, have I got enough expertise in my stable that is going to help me, knowing that I can never be the specialist, and understanding that being the CEO, particularly of a startup, you do need to do all of the things and think about all of the things. And but if you have this panel of people who many of them have become great friends over time, that you can lean on and say, hey, I'm stuck here. Hey, I'm CEOing and I'm so far out of my depth and I need some help. But no one can know that I'm out of my depth. So like, help me out here. There's that level of vulnerability that I think any CEO has, right? That imposter syndrome, it's knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at, and then the things that you're not good at, really just making sure that you've got people galvanized behind. So that genuine process of going, what skills do I need to be a great CEO? Am I great with people? Have I got a vision? Can I bring people with me? What's my strategy look like? All those things. But then also going, have I got the team behind me? And that doesn't necessarily have to be the team that I work with every day, but that community that surrounds me, that picks me up when I fall over, that encourages me, that tells me I'm doing the wrong thing and I need to pivot. Again, that was a very meticulous, very considered process over a decade, which is very easy when you love people. So, not everybody that I spend my time with is it's not transactional. It's just about going, who's my team? Who's on Cain's team, and who can fill the gaps that I don't have as a CEO or a leader.
I love that. All right, Sallina. Power of networks, finding.
So I'm listening to Cain. I'm like, are you like me? And I'm like you. I'm listening. But it's funny. Like kind of like adding to what Cain had said is that what I found is, like, as you go through your career and things like that, your needs and the things that you desire and are aspiring for will change. So, for example, the things that drove me in my career when I was younger, which was more of my ego, isn't necessarily there anymore. And then with an ego, I kind of pursued certain roles. And then from there, I wanted to be more creative. And that landed me in certain directions where I wanted to go. And then it kind of got to a point in my life where I realized, is how do I want to show up in the world? And from there, and I think it's something really important to note, that it may look like people are successful from the outset and you can think that they've got it all made, but really it comes down to the fact of how many times they've been rejected and how many times they refuse to actually accept no, because that's what it's all about throughout your career. If your heart is in the right place and you're passionate about something, you will be rejected, you will be slapped around, and you will possibly fall, but the most important thing is about getting up and keeping going and remembering why you started or why you're pursuing that in the first place. Because if you're passionate about it, you will eventually get it. And just touching on Cain, what he said around imposter syndrome is something that's really important to note, that from imposter syndrome comes something internal, because there's a lot of research around now at the moment talking about coming from an intrapersonal perspective, so coming from leading from inside and out from a human-centered point of view. And imposter syndrome can stem from something from a possibility of not feeling valued or worthy. And what is that could possibly, you could ask yourself, that could be, that's possibly stemmed from past experiences that you could possibly go in, and I say this all the time, work with, acknowledge it and heal it to be able to come and be a better version of yourself. And it is very much always about looking at yourself, how you can be a better version, learning from those mistakes, learning from the rejections, refusing to accept no, and then just keep growing as a person.
All right, so we've got education filling the gaps if needed. I'm hearing very much about alignment, finding your strengths and using that to identify the path that you best fit to, and leveraging your networks. To the whole team here, what are the other tangible strategies we should be doing if we're preparing for a career change? What's not yet said?
I would add, find the thing that gets you really excited. So if you're going to, and like I have pivoted industry multiple times. So, put that aside, career change is one thing, but I've pivoted, and that's out of interest. So it's that if you want to be, and this is not new news, if you want to be successful, you need to have, a fire in your belly. You need to be passionate about the thing. But if you want a career pivot, do it with something that you have a deep love, deep passion, that you doesn't feel like work, that it's something that you're going to be excited to jump out of bed and do in the morning, because that will actually make all of the things that you need to do to make that happen so much easier, because it'll fill your cup, and the challenges will be quickly resolved with solutions, because energy and tenacity, enthusiasm covers all of those things. So I'm a great believer that the pivot I've done will not be the last one. I'll go again because I can't help myself, but it'll be when the new fire, I find the new fire for the next thing, that I just say, get out of my way because I'm going to have a go at this. Yeah.
And can I add to that though? I think some people that are on listening to this webinar today is sometimes they may not be in that place where they've found that passion or that fire that they've got, and it's about, sometimes it could be lifestyle, sometimes it could be financial, but it's also just about understanding, if for example you are aspiring to be something and you're currently not in that place, I would highly, and this is me and some people don't, but I just constantly am reading. And I do believe that growth and changing is not just between 9 and 5. It's about investing in yourself outside of and 9 to 5. I'm always reading it, reading hard copy books, audio books. I take my dog for a walk. I'm audio booking about something to do with something, mostly about the brain. And it's about, okay, you may not be there right now, but if you put the things in place and you start investing in yourself, such as, for example, I want to make a change and I wasn't paid to say this. For example, what I did was I'm going to study for an MBA because I know that that's going to give me an all-rounded education so that I'll have the confidence to be able to work with all types of organizations and the knowledge. And I think everybody, it just is wonderful to have that fire in your belly, and just sometimes it depends, you may be there or you may be on your way there, and it's about investing in yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna, if I can touch on that too, one thing I was gonna say is, I always say, make sure it's whatever you're doing, if you're making that pivot, make sure you're doing it with the intention of improving your personal and professional health. So for me, a big thing was 50-hour work weeks, managing teams in the retail world and regions, and then not having the energy and time to be present with my family, and not having the time and energy to coach sports and coach my kids in sports and play sports, because those are the things that have made me happy since I was a child, and I don't want to lose those. And if you get into those situations where you're working those 50-hour work weeks, you don't have that energy. So one of the big things with driving my career change was being able to have more time with my family and do the things I love and still have the energy to do my career and my job at a really high level. And I think that's a really big thing. No shot at retail, but it's knowing that you can have that, more standard schedule, and you can live within those walls and you can succeed. And it really can improve your personal and your professional health.
Absolutely.
I would just add to that, Zach. I think it's a really good point. I mean, part of my pivot was also, the world around me changing when we found out we were pregnant with our first daughter, and I at that point was a platinum frequent flyer that I think slept in my own bed maybe a few times a year, and I went, well, that's not the sort of dad that I want to be. So how do I reshape the future and take control of my time? And this perfect example is I run 2 busy businesses. This morning, my nearly 2-year-old and I went, for a walk, and we had a donut, and we spent some time in the sun because Mum's back at work, and and now here I am. So it is that flexibility, it's that choice, it's creating a life that you want, as much as doing something that you're excited about.
And I think COVID shone the light on that too, massively, to really like have that work-life balance.
I completely agree, Cain. Can I ask you, if you don't mind sharing, and I'm sure your beautiful wife may not mind you speaking on her behalf, but we're talking in the context of career changes that we're going from one move to the next. But can we talk for a moment about having a break away from work, whether it is to raise a family, health reasons, to travel, or whatever else? Can anyone on the panel, and I'm going to go to you, Cain, first, speak to having career breaks and how to come back from that?
Yeah, we're right in the middle of that this week. So Dominique, my wife, has returned to work after selling her very large business 6 years ago to start our family. We've had 3 daughters in that time, and
Wow.
we were the working couple, and then all of a sudden we found ourselves in this wonderful kind of traditional mum's at home, dad's going to work, crazy world that was never what we envisioned. But Dominique is a superstar. I always say I'm the man behind her. She's a rock star, and she found something she was really excited about. But the discussion in our house the last few weeks leading in, and also particularly this week, is how much the workforce and work has changed in those 6 years that she's been doing the most important job of raising our daughters. And that's been really challenging, from everything from the way people dress to the fact that her team aren't necessarily there, and she's a real people person. So going, well, where are they? I need to meet them. When are they coming into the office? The way that technology has really advanced, and this idea of there's a meeting, but am I supposed to be there, or is it a virtual meeting? And so I think all of that has been a wonderful sort of discovery, but also super challenging. And I think the best thing I've been able to do for her is kind of go, just don't expect it to be what it was when you left. People are still people, but their expectations of you as a leader and their expectations of their workplace have really changed dramatically. So, we're having this sort of download every night when she's getting home. We've had to change our life to juggle. I've always been an active dad. I'm even more, which is great. But I think having the support, having the context, having those really great conversations around, okay, wow, this is different, and how do I respond as a leader who, she'd been evolving for years and years as a leader, and then has jumped back in and gone, okay, well, who am I as a leader in this new world, and how do I do that? And it's really fascinating, because I think a lot of the things that I've taken for granted through COVID and bits and pieces, and the way that things change, and even the fact that traffic is different on different days because it depends whether it's the work from home day or not, all those things have just been things that are now ingrained in the way that I think, that are a whole new discovery for someone coming back. So it's been actually a really lovely week for us as a family, as I get to see the new world through her eyes as well.
Oh, beautiful. Well, congratulate Dominique. Can I ask, did her anxiety about going back to work after having a few years off as a career break, did the anxiety dissolve overnight?
But weirdly enough, it kind of did. So this, and I don't know whether that's just because she's awesome, or, well, it probably is because she's just awesome. But I think as soon as she there's this, I love her as a mum, but there's that I fell in love with her as a sort of career woman, and for lots of reasons, but that was part of her, and it's been really lovely to see that just kind of re-emerge, almost instantaneously. So there was lots of anxiety, but I also think for her, we'd been talking about her wanting to go back to work for some time, but nothing felt right, and this one felt right. So I think, and they've been super supportive. So as a workplace, they've said, we get it. you've been out of the workforce a long time. Tell us what you need. So they've been amazing in starting to shape that for her. So I think that's really important consideration, for me as an employer to think about, that in the context of my businesses and how we support flexibility and parent. And that's kind of in me anyway, because I'm a parent, but it's an important lesson for all of us, I think, is they will get an extraordinary amount of value out of her. But they also understand that they need to create an environment where they can extract that value, because all the other hygiene matters are kind of met for her, and she knows that her family is safe and happy and cared for, so she can focus on delivering for them. So I think it's a really complicated space, and I really admire people who take the opportunity to step out and be a parent, and then go, hey, yeah, let's dive back in and get back into that, stepping out of executive leadership. She's got an executive role. It's pretty exciting time.
And I think too, like it's what the thing is that what you mentioned, Cain, about the fact of like there is that anxiety or fear of like maybe you're going to fail, or fear that you're not going to fit in, or fear of all of those things that kind of like plays through our mind. And it's the difference between success and mediocre is that everybody feels the fear. Everybody feels like has imposter syndrome and it's not good enough. And then it's about pushing through that anyway and going and pushing through that barrier that we have to be able to then be able to experience new things, and like being able to also ensure that she's in the right environment, which she, again, it felt right, which is around that whole like that heart-centered piece. And yeah, perfect example. I really it's a great story about your wife. I think that would resonate with so many people.
I think too. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, just from a technology change, Teams, we're all on Teams. Well, Teams wasn't really a thing 6 years ago, So there's all this new language that you've got to navigate, and new tools. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah, no problem. I was just going to quickly add to my wife, similar situation, 6 years off with the kids, and was working in tech. And then when she went back, she's actually working in the public sector, and took a role that was she was quite worried about. But one of the big things that we have a lot of people, and being in HR, I deal with people on leaves all the time. And one of the big things with coming back is sometimes they need a cheerleader. And when somebody's been off for a while, it's a perfect time for a career change or a career pivot when you're coming off a leave, because, you can be newly energized, and, you're not going back to something maybe you didn't enjoy before. Maybe you're going into something new and exciting. And while it can be scary, things like parenting, we learn so many skills that we can totally utilize in the workplace. And, when you had that conversation with our daughter last week about, believing in herself, she, utilize that yourself, harness that, and bring that into the workforce as well, so you don't feel the same way. And there's so many different things in day-to-day life that we can utilize and use as transferable skills in the workplace. And and just thought I'd bring that up because my wife went through a very, very similar situation, and she's also amazing and doing a great job, and totally did a career pivot as well. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just about to add to that, like Zach, and isn't it that whole thing of like we're all like 95% of us are born as Einsteins, and then as we grow and we progress through life, we lose all of that, and it really comes back to that curious piece. We're always having that curiosity and being able to ask questions and things like that, and that's what helps with that evolving and being able to adapt, is that constant having curiosity around life and understanding more.
But Sallina, curiosity, but also values, right? As we get older, we start to know what our priorities are, mean most to us, and then just get rid of anything else that doesn't have that priority or isn't in alignment with our own core values. So can I ask about your core values and how they're driving your decisions in your career path?
So I think one of the biggest things for me is what I came to realize, and I think maybe this is like I've done a lot of work during COVID and things like that around on myself. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I could say is that no matter what your goals and aspirations are, so firstly, whatever you're doing is no matter what role you're holding, ensure, and a mentor gave me this advice, always do the best possible job that you can possibly do. Never be sloppy, and be outstanding in that role, because it sets the scene for where you're going to head for your future, no matter what it is. And then on top of that, we all have goals and aspirations. And if you're sitting in a room and those people are not supporting you, and you're sitting at a table where they're actually nays and putting down what your goals are, remove yourself from that room, remove yourself from those people, and look around at yourself and go, who am I surrounding myself by? What are they doing in the world? Because people that are doing better than you will never, ever put down your goals and aspirations, because they've been there. And the power of your network is so important. And I know it's cliche, but your network is your net worth, because they will rise you up or they will pull you down. And that's like my biggest advice.
Say it again. Your net worth
Work is your net worth.
Let's put that on a postcard. That's coming out after this. All right.
New AIB course.
Zach, I want to ask you, tell us about some of the probably key supporters that guided you through your transition when you were going into a new functional role. So whether it was, and you mentioned earlier about identifying people who were within HR who could open those opportunities for you. I suspect you were having, coffee conversations with them at some point, or did they have a more instrumental role in helping you with that transition?
Yeah, so most of my MBA was during COVID, and I'm an extremely social person, and so doing an online MBA, starting just with that, was very, very nerve-wracking for me, to not be going into a classroom and working on class group projects and things like that, because that's what drives me. And I think one of the big things for me that just helped was, like I said, getting into, when I first told my company that I was going to do this route and going for my MBA, and that there were some more negative takes on the situation, in the sense they're like, why don't you just move up in operations and continue, the path there? You've done very well here, and this is a good place for you. And that's nothing against my company, which was great to me for so long. It was just, that wasn't really the energy I wanted. So I got away from that. And I said, I ended up moving my entire family to a whole nother province in Canada that was more affordable, so we could afford for me to do this. So we put a lot of sacrifice in play to get this change started. And but I knew the positive outcomes were there, and it was going to lead to the right path for myself and my family. And I started reaching out to people. I really connected with a lot of people through the MBA, and I really do think that started it all, with a lot of different people, like I said earlier, HR people all over the world, great minds, and working for these completely different companies in different industries. And we could have these really wonderful conversations about how they handle, pay transparency in a different part of the world than how we do, and how we feel about it, and how we can impact our companies with this sort of thing. And I really started, building a network through LinkedIn. And I'd always, like Sallina said too, you and Cain have both touched on, but throughout your career, you always want to do your best in everything you do, and build great connections and relationships everywhere. And one of the big things for me has been building great relationships. And I started always be thinking about that next step. And when I was doing my MBA, and I knew I'd be graduating, I'd be finishing in the end of 2020. So before I finished, I was already all over, different corporate websites and LinkedIn, and connecting with people, and connecting with people within the CPHR community, which is a big one in Western Canada, which is a big one in Canada, the Chartered Professional Human Resources. It was a designation that I knew before I even finished my MBA. That was my next goal, was to get the professional designation that would then carry me even farther in my career, which I did get in 2023, glad to say. And then it was on to professional recruiter designation, which I got later in 2023. And it was just about connecting with the people that would help me get there. And I connected with people within CPHR who fast-tracked me on things. And you just continue to find those people that are excited about what you're saying and what you say you bring to the table. And that's going to help you go far. And yeah, it all comes full circle. But yeah, building those networks, and like I said, finding different groups. You can't sit still. You got to keep looking ahead, and finding those people that are going to help you get there.
For the most part, people want to support, right, Cain? You're very similar. You identify maybe your strengths very well. but we can't be good at everything. Sometimes we've got to outsource or ask somebody else to fill the gaps to help build the business or the function or whatever it is of the space we're working in. So same goes for you. Who are some of your key supporters that have helped you along the way? Not so much who, if we don't have to point them out, but the role that they play.
My mom, my dad.
Here's a name check for everybody. No, that'll be the rest of the webinar, me going through all the people that are amazing. No, like I think I have brought people. I kind of collect people in life. I kind of see, it's one of the. I don't have stuff, but I've got lots of incredible human beings, and some of them are professional and some of them are personal, and and some are blended, and that's amazing. But I think part of building out, and like I've got people that I work for. I've worked for a number of founders over the years, whether that's Charles, who owns Century 20 Australia, or Janine from Boost Juice. Like, there's people that have founded companies that I can lean on for that stuff. But then there's also people who are just really good at really niche things. So it's kind of like, I've got somebody amazing who I've worked with for years in PR that when I need, an angle or a story, I can call her, or even just to bounce. But also those people that you can just have a coffee with and kind of solve all the world's problems. Those wonderful conversations where you're like, between the two of us, we could actually just solve all the problems, because great ideas come out of that. But more than that, I actually think what's more important is what I do for others. So I spend probably just as much time doing that for other people. So and it's not about me going, oh, I'm really good at these things. Going, well, how can I help you? And very rarely do I ever call that favor back in, but there are times where you go, well, actually, can you help me now? So I think it's not just about having that kind of stable that is around you. It's going, well, actually, how do I be part of other people's stables? Whether that's as a technical specialist, a cheerleader, somebody who gives, like, I give really good hugs. They're super important on this journey. You need people to give you a hug every now and again and go, you got this. So
Yes.
like,
Not in the workplace. Can we just?
no, not in the workplace. Yeah.
I was going to say, Cain.
Two hugs.
You can ask permission first, right? But whether it's a physical hug or a metaphorical hug where you wrap them with your good intent energy. But I think that's important that we also consider ourselves in the context of what is it that we are doing for others? What is this? How can we be in service to our community and our supporters? And actually, by virtue of that, that's probably more powerful in building out, your team.
Those are all the things that make a great leader.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're all here, all amazing leaders in your respective rights. All right, I want to talk about the first 90 days, and I don't explicitly mean the first 90 days. I just mean when you're commencing in a new role within a new industry, how do you build credibility when you don't yet have the experience under your belt? Zach, I'm going to go you first.
Yeah, I think, obviously you need to have that belief behind you, that you deserve to be in the room. And I said it before, but you can do hard things, and you deserve to be there, and that's why you're there. And I think building great relationships starts from day one, and that builds your credibility as well. And it really ties into what Cain just talked about there. And really, building those supports around you and making sure everyone, like his wife going back to work, building those relationships right away, and saying, how can we support you? What's your role? What do you do here? How can I support that? And just being there for people. That's what people want, and they're going to be there for you if you're there for them. And I think obviously going in with trusting in your skills. I think it's one of the biggest things with a career change is transferable skills, like going from like I said, going from leading retail teams into HR. So many of those skills that I did and learned every day working with people are completely transferable, and that can be, you can get pretty creative. It can transcend any industry, really. Parenting, all these different things you're learning, completely just yeah, they make such a difference. So yeah, I think that's the key, trusting in yourself and your skills, and all those skills are going to be transferable, and you're there for a reason, and you should be in that room, and build those relationships right away.
Yeah, that stakeholder relationship is very innate to you.
And I think, can I add on that too, is like that, and I've said it before, but it's so important, is to stay curious, to always be asking questions, and to get your hands on every possible bit of information you can to learn about who's who in the organization, as well as the product and how it serves, like meets a need. And don't know what happened to Mr. McCool there. And then, but also something we haven't touched on, which I think is so important in those 90 days, is the importance of like being kind to yourself, knowing that perfection is an unachievable goal and you can't be perfect on those first 90 days. And it's about being patient with yourself and learning as you go. And from a personal perspective is
Not gonna work. All right.
sleep. Sleep. I cannot tell you how much I have realized the importance of sleep that contributes to your success. Sleep, eating well, being kind to yourself, and surrounding yourself with the right people, especially in 90 days when your brain has taken its toll and your body takes its toll from learning so much and something new, it's just absolutely crucial to your success.
I agree 100%. And I would just add to that kind of, that information digesting. I think the real key is this seek to understand.
Yeah.
That if you take the time, and Alicia's heard me talk about this before too, this idea that, your job as a leader or somebody coming isn't actually to solve other people's problems. It's to help them solve them for themselves. And it's a real trap when you're new. You seek to understand, you go, I've got this big bag of knowledge from another sector or another role or another industry, and that would be really useful. And if I did all this stuff, I can solve all your problems. And actually, that's a trap. It's an absolute trap, because it's the worst way to put off a new team. Seeking to understand not just the what, but the how and the why, and how they might be doing something in a particular way because of the cultural fabric or because of some other reason that isn't kind of technical, that's more human. So seeking to understand, and then starting to show people through your other gain knowledge how you can connect their knowledge and your knowledge and help them solve more problems or move faster or move forward. That's a real magic trick, but it's all about you being patient and feeling and trusting that your value will emerge, rather than feeling the need to show it explicitly, or be directive, or look at me, I'm a great leader, I'm going to tell you all what to do. I think that the more time you take to understand the business, the sector, the human beings around you, their roles, and then start to facilitate the connection of dots and the introduction of your knowledge base and merging it with theirs, the better. It's 90 days. Be active, but be patient is probably the things I would say.
I couldn't, 100% agree with you. I think that is such great advice. It truly is sitting back and kind of just observing and kind of like starting to mesh yourself in gently and patiently. I agree.
Yeah, and let them know you're a good human, because if people understand you're a decent human being, they will come together with you much faster. It's not about showing them how clever you are; it's actually showing them how decent you are.
Yeah. And I like, there's another quote for you. I'm going to do another one of those graphics with the picture and the quote there for you, around collecting the dots and connecting the dots. Take the time to collect the dots, and then when you're ready, leverage them. I love that. I'm going to open the floor to you guys for 2 minutes. It's going to be almost like a hot seat situation. Strategies, hot tips, what has been left unsaid. And why has no one said, go update your LinkedIn profile yet? That's my hot. That's part of your digital identity. People, if they don't know you, are looking at that to get a sense of the kind of value that you could potentially bring to their organization.
I'll jump right into that, because I think LinkedIn optimization, it really is everything now. It's so important. And it really is, jumping into a new industry in that is challenging right now. Like there's no doubt the job market is tough right now, and you'll see a job posting and 1,298 applicants within 6 hours, because especially for remote roles, like there's so much more competition the way roles are dispersed geographically in that now, that you really do need to do that extra work, and you're marketing yourself, but and it's all about, making yourself visible, and put your, do your research and throw up the right post, and do your research about who you're trying to, connect with, and go for those people, that organization you want to go to. Research who works there. You can find them. It's very easy now to really, research the companies you want to work for, the people that work there, connect with them and show them who you are. And it's a wonderful tool. And I think it's so useful, and I definitely utilize it for a lot of things. And I know I saw Cain and Sallina have lots of followers, so they're obviously pretty active on there as well. So you get, whatever it is, a ton of connections a week to use them. Get out there and send them a note and introduce yourself. And they're not all going to work, but it really is such a great tool, and can really get your name out there. And it's such a useful strategy that wasn't around, not that long ago. And it's such a great thing to have now.
Can I add on that? And I think it's very relevant actually, is LinkedIn, absolutely, but then also be mindful of your social platforms. I would highly recommend to just keep everything private, and I just think it's best to just keep a close circle when it comes to your personal social, because people will search you if they're looking to employ you or engage you in a new role, and if there's anything that could possibly not be quite on the mark, it could go against you. So I highly recommend that it's probably best to keep everything nice and private in your social platforms. Not that I have anything to hide on mine, just a disclaimer there. But I think it's really important.
Tuck those digital skeletons away.
Cain, anything left unsaid, or anything left unsaid?
Oh, look, there's probably lots, and this is it's bespoke. It's up to you as a person. But I just would encourage people to do it. Just do the work, take the leap, have a crack. Mm-hmm. You can always go back. I pretty much guarantee you won't, but don't be afraid to have a go at doing something new, because you actually don't know what you'll learn about yourself until you do it. It's a really I think I know myself really well, and then I go and do something completely different and learn something entirely new about who I am and the way I see the world and how those skills apply. So I think, whoever you are, if you need to do the research, if you need to upskill, if you need to do this, but ultimately prepare yourself as best you can, and then just, dive in.
It's such a great
zone and back to yourself. Sorry, Sallina, final word.
No, just, I think too, I was speaking to somebody this morning about they were having a challenge at work, and sometimes challenges come along to be able to help us grow, and it's really sitting with yourself and asking yourself, is this the challenge that I really need to work through, and so I can grow as a person and evolve as a leader, or is this something that is probably outside of my control and I can try and do the best I can with what this situation is. And I think that's really important, to really look at challenges in a two kind of prong way.
Completely agree. Comfort zone, growth zone, and that's how we evolve. I want to share a quote that stuck with me several years ago by Thomas Opan, because it relates to career paths and finding what we align with and then moving into that. And it very much aligns with one of my core values, expansion. And the quote was, to thrive now and in the future, you have to be willing to rise above conventional minds and wisdom, and you become indispensable in the world by constantly outgrowing your existing roles. So as we bring today's webinar to a close, Cain, Sallina, Zach, you've been superstars. I truly appreciate your generous time. I hope our audience is feeling inspired by the stories and insights shared by our really super incredible panelists. A career pivot, whether it is a complete change or a shift in your goals, it's not only possible, but it is often the catalyst for that profound growth and fulfillment that we've been talking about and has weaved through our conversation today. So just remember, to our audience, the ability to adapt, the ability to reinvent yourself, one of the most powerful tools that you have. So no matter your age, your industry, your current role, the opportunity to pivot is always within reach. It starts with believing in yourself and believing that your career is a journey, one that can evolve and continue to change at any time. So with clarity, one of my other favorite statements is clarity creates simplicity. So with that clarity, courage, and a willingness to embrace new possibilities, you can absolutely steer your career path in a path that best suits to you. So I want to thank everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing where your journey leads. Here's to your next bold move. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.